So today we're here with Christy Plourde. And Christy's a long-time citizen from Fort Kent, or the Fort Kent area, and she's also responsible for Plourde's Doughnut, the whole business. And Christy, first of all, tell me a little about yourself. Your name, where you were born. Are you from the area originally?
Yes, I was born in Soldier Pond, actually. My father is Thomas Desjardins, and my mother was Georgienne Bouchard. And we lived in Soldier Pond for quite a while, and then we moved to Fort Kent. And my father was a mechanic. He worked in garages and for farmers and all that. And I went to school in Fort Kent, graduated from the high school in Fort Kent. And then after high school, I married Clarence Plourde. And we went to Connecticut for 2 years. But we weren't too crazy about Connecticut, so we moved back. And we worked here. I worked at the little sewing shop, Princess Kent. I did a lot of sewing there, and my husband worked on the farm with his father. And then in, what was the year again? 65 on the receipt.
Yep.
My aunt and uncle were making donuts on Market Street, just out of her house. And I bought her equipment because they were moving to Massachusetts. And I started making donuts. We were making them all by hand, cutting them by hand. And then I got the great idea of buying a cutter. So I saw one at Flags in Bangor, and I ordered one.
Now, what's a cutter?
That big cutter.
It makes...
The donut cutter.
The donut cutter.
Yeah. It's a big bowl. You saw it on...
Yep.
And you put the dough in it, and you turn the crank, and a donut falls in the lard, in the fryer.
So it makes the donut itself. It makes
yes.
the circle.
Yes. And in the beginning, I had a hard time with it because the recipe wasn't ready for that. So every morning, my husband would tell me, send that back. And I was determined, so I worked on the recipe and redid it to fit the cutter.
Now,
because the cutter needed it much thicker. It was thick. It was too thick. Had to be more liquidy. And so I fixed the recipe, and then we were ready to make plenty of donuts.
Now, what did you have to do to the recipe itself? Add more water?
I added some more buttermilk, because everything is buttermilk in there. And I add some more eggs, and then I try it. And finally, I got it to work the way I wanted, because when it was too thick, the donuts would be just balls. It would fall and it wouldn't spread. It would come out there, it would just make a ball. And so I finally got it to work, and that's how I got the recipe going. Now,
you mentioned you had bought the business.
Yeah.
From, what was the name on market?
Isabelle and Isaiah Bouchard, my uncle and aunt. And she came from Canada, that lady. And so the recipe is really from Canada, originally. Of course, I did change it, but that's where she was from.
And they lived on Market Street.
On Market Street, yeah.
And they were selling donuts at the time.
Yes, they were in Fort Kent. Yeah, they was selling some. She was making some to sell. Yeah.
Do you know?
She was a good cook. Yeah.
Did they make different kinds of donuts, or was it just a...
It was the plain and chocolate. And she did make a coconut one. I think she got that at Susie's warehouse. It was like a syrup. Dip the donut in and roll it in coconut. So she used to make, I never made the coconut donuts, but I made chocolate and vanilla and with different sugars and cinnamon. And then I started molasses a few years ago. People like the molasses. So
when you bought the business, did you buy their equipment?
Yes, it was
and the recipe.
A fryer and the recipe and a few barrels for the flour and sugar, plastic barrels, and that was about it. You know, that's all she had was, yeah. And then I bought another fryer. I had 2 fryers, and that cutter, that big cutter to cut the donuts and have them drop right in the lard.
So when you bought the equipment, though, they didn't have a cutter at that time?
Oh, no, no.
They were doing it by...
We do them all by hand.
All by hand?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you first started doing the donuts, you were doing them completely by hand?
Yes, yeah, yeah. And then after a while, too, I did make the raised donuts. But they took so long because you had to let them rise, and then you had to cut them and then let them rise again. And it took so much room that, but people liked them a lot.
Well, what got you the idea of getting into the donut business, though?
Oh.
I mean, you bought the business, but there must have been some reason why you did it.
Well, we had a real bad fall that fall. We were picking potatoes. We had did a job for a farmer. And it was a terrible, terrible winter. Okay. Fall. It was winter in the fall, yeah. And it snowed and it froze, and it's like a lot of farmers lost their potatoes because they couldn't dig them. And I thought, gee, if we got to do something else than picking potatoes. Because with my family, I had to, we used to pick potatoes to get them dressed for the winter, and like everybody did, So my aunt was after me to take over the donuts, and I said, okay, I'll try it. So that's how I tried, starting with donuts, yeah. Now, we didn't have too much room, but we had a living room that turned into the donut shop. The living room, we moved the furniture around, and I made counter space, and I'd make donuts in that room upstairs. And then after a while, we fixed a shop in the cellar. Well, we had added on to the house, and there was a nice cellar under that section. It was an old house, so the old cellar wouldn't have been any good. But we had added on a big living room, so down cellar we fixed it for a shop. And, yeah.
Now your donuts. Now, first of all, what did Clarence do for a living?
Oh, he was a farmer, like his father. Worked with his farmer. His father with the cows. They had a milk run. And,
in Fort Kent?
Yeah, yeah. And then he did school bus driving for a lot of years. Yeah.
So what did he say when he said, should we buy the business?
Oh, he was all for it. Yeah, yeah. He liked the idea. I think he liked the idea of having fresh donuts.
Now, but at the time, did you have any children when you bought it?
Oh, yes, I had 7.
You had 7 at the time?
Yeah. I had Ruth the year after. I'm my youngest, yeah.
So you had, when you first bought the business, you didn't have any kids, or you had all 7?
I had 7.
At the time?
Yes, yeah.
So what did they think of it? Oh, they probably thought fresh donuts too.
I don't know what they thought of it, really. But After, well, when I found out I was pregnant for him, I had a hired girl that we got from Canada. And she lived with us, and she was very nice, and the kids loved her, and she was a nice big worker and kept the house in order. Yeah. So, yeah, I had Irma was her name.
So she was just a live-in
housekeeper.
She was a housekeeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is while you were doing the donuts.
Yes, and delivering sometimes, and yeah.
Now, with the donuts, when you first started, where were you selling the donuts, and to whom?
All the grocery stores. All the grocery stores.
In
Paradis, and yeah. Then it was Market Street. It was John's. It wasn't John's then. You know.
Is it Dana?
Dana, yeah. My son worked for Dana during high school. Yeah.
So you sell the donuts.
And we'd go as far as Van Buren. We'd go to Van Buren, and in the summertime towards the lakes, and yeah, we did the round.
So even as you started, you had to make a lot of donuts.
Oh yes, yeah. And then we'd go to Van Buren, we'd use these banana boxes. And one store in Van Buren would take 2 of those big boxes full, 10 dozen in each, and they'd put it on the counter, and people would wait for them. And, you know, it was just once a week we'd go, so, yeah.
So then, what did they like about the donuts?
I don't know.
But certainly they liked. I mean, if they were waiting for you at the counter when you delivered them.
Yeah, it was a homemade donut, and not many ladies knew how to make donuts. Right. It was different, I suppose. Yeah.
So when you did a batch of donuts, how big a batch did you make? How many donuts were you that day?
Then. She just now has 5 dozens, 5.5 dozens in one dish. We would mix 10 dozen in a pan, in a big circular thing, and it was 10 dozen per batch. But then when I started making them again, I cut the batch in half because it was a lot of work to lift that up and empty it in the cutter. Yeah. So it was 10 dozens per batch.
10 dozen per batch. So, and how many batches a day would you do?
Depending on the orders. Like I said, when we'd go to Van Buren, they'd take like 20 dozens. They would take a lot. And then going to Van Buren, it was a stop every few miles. There was like 5, 6 or 7 different little stores on the way to Van Buren.
Yeah, at the time there were a lot of little convenience stores all over the valley.
And gas stations, and yeah.
So when you went to a gas station, you'd never been there before, and you wanted to sell your donuts there, how did you approach it?
Well, I usually hadn't tried them. And it was easy to sell.
It was easy to sell?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So then you buy this equipment and you start selling. How did the business grow after that? I mean, more customers?
Yeah, and then I started doing caterings, and then I started making wedding cakes and decorated cakes, and that would keep me very busy too. I would do different foods, you know. Mostly decorated cakes, all kinds. And
did you start with the catering first, or the cakes?
The cakes.
The cakes came first.
Yes.
So so you just one day, how did you?
Well, they'd ask me to make a birthday cake for a person. I'd just make one, and that, you know, then you start. It's not like now where they have the internet to advertise. It's so different. But people would talk about it, and I always had a lot of cakes to make. Yeah. Different cakes, and I'd use the Wilton pans. They were all the Mickey Mouse, the Donald Ducks, and all those
Yeah, these cut out.
Yeah.
They make a shape for the cake.
It's a shape. Yeah, yeah. I had all the pans from Wilton's.
What was the hardest cake that you had to make? I mean, you did a lot of wedding cakes. Were there some that were very hard or complicated?
Yeah, I made one for the town of Fort Kent when they had renovated a lot of buildings and stuff. I'm trying to remember. Was it when the credit union opened? It was a cake. I used an old door to put it on. It was like Main Street, Fort Kent.
Yeah.
And I had to make little buildings, and I don't have a picture of it. Yeah, and you know, it was, I think, when they redid the lights or in Fort Kent or something like that. There was an occasion, but I don't remember. Yeah, that was a difficult one.
That was a complicated cake.
And I made one when the credit union opened too.
Which credit union?
The one on Main Street. There.
Oh, Acadia. Acadia. Well, now it's Acadia.
It was of the building itself.
Really?
Yeah. Big cake. Yeah.
And you had to not just, you had to decorate it so it looked like it.
So it would look like the credit union. Yeah. I made different cakes, a lot of different stuff like that.
Do you remember what was, I mean, there's complicated but hard, you know, a hard cake to say, a lot of planning, a lot of work into it.
Was that?
That's that big one.
Main Street one.
It was big.
Yeah, yeah. And then I made a lot of wedding cakes with stairways and fountains.
Then once you had the wedding cakes, then you got into catering.
Yes.
Now catering, these were catering for whom?
Mostly weddings, and even did funerals, and you know, companies that wanted to give a party or everything like that. Yeah.
And you did all of that out of your house?
Yeah. Yeah, in my shop.
In your shop?
Mm. Yeah. At the house, though, we had built a walk-in cooler, and I had bought a big commercial stove, so I was pretty well equipped. Yeah, in my cellar in the shop.
Now, how long did you do catering for? How much time? How many years?
Oh, geez. I would think maybe 40 years. Yeah. Yeah, I did some for a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
What was the biggest, the one that you had to cater?
The biggest one, I think, was when I did a meal for, what was it now? I can't remember the name. It was a company, and it was at the Casey Hall, and it was like 300 people. It was a lot.
Now, who was helping you put the catering together? Did you have
I had a neighbor that helped me, yeah. And she would come and help me cook when I had big caterings like that.
Did you, man?
Yeah.
So then you did catering for a number of years, and then...
that was not a every week thing, you know. It was sporadic. You never knew, you know.
Right.
And yeah, but yeah, I did some for about that long.
So how did you get out of the catering?
I just said no. Yeah. After a while, you know, it was like enough. Yeah.
Oh, they're a lot of work.
Yes, they are. They are.
You know, we go someplace and we enjoy the meal, but we don't realize how much work went into that meal
right.
to cook it, especially for a large number of people.
It was a big job. Yeah.
So then, you stopped catering, but you kept the cake business.
Yeah, I made cakes up till maybe 5 years ago. But then I said, no, I'm not making anymore. Because it takes a long time, and then I was making them with different colored frosting, you know, to decorate a cake. And, you know, I needed red, blue, whatever. And it was too hard to keep colored frosting, you know, refrigerated that long and between cakes. So I said, no, I'm not making any more. Actually, I made one for my aunt, Esther, when she celebrated her 90th.
Esther
Boucher.
Esther Boucher.
She's 91 now. So I made her a big cake too for her party.
For her 90th birthday?
Yeah. For her birthday, they were celebrating at the senior center. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but all this time you were still doing donuts?
Yes. Up till last year.
Up
till January. December I made some, but January I didn't. Jessica picked up the fryer and the equipment at the end of the year. Yeah.
Now Jessica is who? How did?
She's my granddaughter.
Oh, she's your granddaughter.
Yeah, Sue and Reno Corrio's daughter, Jessica. She's in Mapleton, and she started her business, and it's called Lil J's Kitchen. And she makes my donuts, she makes bread, meals, all kinds of sweets. She loves to cook. And she has a nice kitchen that Reno and Sue made for her. And she worked at it too, and she has nice equipment. And so she's really working hard.
Well, you know, you mentioned Sue. How many children did you have, though?
I have 8.
You have 8?
Yes.
8 children?
Yeah.
And are they all living in the area?
No. I had one in North Dakota, the second son, but he just moved back to Maine, which I'm very happy. He's in...
His name?
Is Larry Plourde. And I have one daughter in Florida, and the others are in southern Maine, and one in Fort Kent. Well, she's in Wallagrass. Well, no longer in Wallagrass. Her business was in Wallagrass. She's on Slybrook Road. She's in Eagle Lake, really.
So their names?
Susan and Reno are now living in Eagle Lake on Slybrook Road. And I have Louise in Bangor area, and then the others are downstate. Larry is now in Sherman, and yeah, so it's not far. He comes up sometimes. And Danny is in Saco, Scarborough. And Brian is in Dayton. And Lila is in, what did I tell you? I can't remember the name. Did I get everybody? Steve is in Thompson. Yeah.
Did any of them show an interest in the donut business, or did they ate enough donuts?
No, they all went to school. I'm very proud of that. They all went to college. They all have a degree. So they had their thing that they like to do. I have carpenters, and I have school teachers. I had 3 school teachers. One of them now is a principal. And Steve is a banker. But anyway, they all had different career. Louise was a X-ray technician. So they had their careers. They were not interested in baking.
But did they work though? Did they work while you were doing? Oh yes,
they helped me. Before going to school, they'd come and stir the donuts. Yeah, especially the boys, the older boys. They really would come down and stir the donuts.
Get it all ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you've passed on the tradition of Plourde's donuts.
Yes.
To your granddaughter.
Right. Yeah. So I'm very happy that she has it.
Now, did she also copy your recipes, the same recipes, or when is she doing the same identical product?
Oh, yes, the same thing. Yes. Yeah, it's because she came over here and stayed with me to see how I was doing them and all that. And then when she moved the stuff up to her place, I went up a couple of times to help her out. And now she's a pro.
She meets your standards.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
I'm assuming at first there was a lot of coaching on your part to her.
Yeah. Yes.
The tricks of the trade, how to do things.
Oh, yeah. She used to question me a lot. Yeah. Yeah. She's really good at it too.
Louise is in which ranking as a kid? Is she at the?
She's the third.
She's the third.
I had 2 boys, then 2 girls, then a boy, a girl, a boy, a girl. I mixed them up. Yeah.
But now the tradition is passed on to Jessica, and now where does Jessica? She produces donuts. Does she follow the same distribution points that you had, or does she have?
No, she has her own because she's close to Presque Isle, and she has some very good customers. And she started with Bradley's, that garage and little convenience store, and she was doing real well. And then she has the IGAs now, and she has that food place there. She makes sandwiches for, and Save-A-Lot. I was trying to get it. Save-A-Lot. She makes food for them because they don't have a deli, so she makes sandwiches and sweets, and they order stuff.
So she does more than donuts.
Oh yes, she makes meals, and yes, she makes a variety of food, bread especially. She makes a lot of breads.
So she's been doing that since January.
It's been a year.
It's been a year.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, so the customers that you had here in the area, they have no access to Plourde's donuts.
Oh yes, they do. At John's Market. Yeah, they wait for the donuts to come at John's Market on Thursday, and then there's that little store in Slybrook Road, the Lake Road Groceries. She delivers there. She delivers also in Eagle Lake, and along the way back to Mapleton. They deliver along the way coming down to Fort Kent.
So is this Jessica that brings the donuts up? Or?
No, it's Sue. Her mom goes to help her on Thursday. She works with her, and then on her way home, she delivers all the way home. Yeah, so it's working out really well.
So the people in the area still have access to the Plourde donuts.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Now, do people still call and ask you about Plourde's donuts?
Yes, I still have a few calls once in a while. And for a cake, decorated cake, which I don't do anymore. Yeah, I do get a few calls, but it's not my turn anymore. Somebody else.
Well, you certainly have passed on the tradition of Plourde's donut. I mean, certainly it's a well-known brand. It's an institution. I mean, you built it.
Yeah.
Something that you are, I'm sure, very proud of.
Yeah. I never thought of it as being an institution, but I guess it is, because people still look for those donuts. Yes. Yeah,
and they look for Plourde's donuts.
Yes.
You know, they don't look for any donut. They look for Plourde's donuts.
Yeah, because they're different. They're homemade. They're not, a lot of artificial stuff in it. Preservatives, and there's no preservatives. It's just the buttermilk is kind of a preservative, because it's a good product for cooking, and I use buttermilk in my donuts. Yeah.
Now, what was your most popular donut? You know, you made different. I'm assuming
The plain.
The plain.
Yeah, plain. Especially the elderly. They like plain donut, no sugar, no cinnamon on it. You know, just plain donuts. Yeah. That's the most popular. But now I think with the younger people, they like the chocolate a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you did plain, and you did chocolate as well?
Yeah. And you know, people from outside, they'd come and order donuts to bring back with them. One lady said, "This is real chocolate, chocolate all the way through." Because they're used to getting just a coating of chocolate. Or, yeah, she loved those chocolates, that lady. Yeah.
So you had customers from...
Oh yeah, that lady was from New York.
From New York.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we had springtime and summertime people that were from outside, you know. We would order a lot to bring back with them. And yeah.
So people from the area, they came up to visit and they'd buy a whole bunch of donuts to bring back.
Yes. They would. It's odd, but that's what they do.
Was it hard giving up the business?
No, it was time. It was pastime. Yeah. Yeah.
In a way, it's nice. I'm sure you must be proud that it stayed in the family.
Oh, yeah, I'm so happy for Jess, because she really likes to cook and she's good at it. So, yeah, I'm glad she's doing it.
Plus, it also gives you a chance to go visit, and still taste your donuts.
Yeah, I still would like to go help her out. If it wouldn't be so far, you know. Mapleton is now over an hour away. Yeah.
Now, what was your personal favorite flavor of donuts?
The plain.
Like the plain.
The plain. Yeah. Yeah, I like the plains. Well, it's a vanilla donut, really.
Right.
It's a good vanilla in there. So.
Well, Christy, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It was a great. Actually, at the end of this video, we'll include the tour of Jessica's place in Mapleton. It's
yeah.
It was very impressive, and I really want to thank you for. I mean, not just this, but for going down with me to Mapleton to view this. It was a very good experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can still smell it on my clothes.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christy.
Okay. You're